What is immortality? For instance, certain audio tracks, some paintings, a beautiful sunrise, things like this etch immortal memories in our souls. Today, we ride two motorcycles highlighted by an appeal that is immortal. The Royal Enfield Classic 650 and the BSA Gold Star 650 are immortal in their appeal and form. This format has existed since motorcycles as a mode of transportation came into being and show no signs of vanishing till the end of time. Today we have Shoubhik, who has considerable kilometers on his 650 twins, one of the early owners of the 650 platform. He has spent considerable time on his Continental GT, modded her, molded her, and I hear that you're never going to part with her.
I'm already in the next phase of modifying her a little bit more. As a Royal Enfield owner, you're never done. I also ride a Triumph Street Triple, and obviously that has a very, very different character to what the GT is. But riding probably every single weekend, even though I do have a superbike at home, but I feel a lot more connected to the GT because it's my first bike and it's always going to be my first love.
Something special about the first bike. You know, I could feel the sense of ease, like a certain level of calm, even before we started riding these bikes. This beautiful expression of motorcycling gorgeousness.
Although both the bikes, if you look at the spec sheet, they seem quite similar. Same amount of power, same amount of torque. But the feel and the character, boy, were we very wrong about it. It was poles apart. These are two very, very different bikes. And I think that made this ride very special.
The Classic 650 is massive. I mean, you feel the weight the moment you swing your leg on it. The handle almost rewired my usual riding posture, And you get a little getting used to. Once you're on it, you feel a certain way that you otherwise wouldn't feel on any other bike. It felt festive.
The Gold Star 650, it felt a lot more welcoming. The posture I felt was much more comfortable. I felt more true to that specific posture of just sitting up. It felt like a brat. It didn't feel like I'm riding a classic bike. But if I just talk about the Rotax engine, the character of that bike. When you open the throttle, immediately you feel that torque in that Rotax engine.
It's nice. It's a different expression, but it's still got its unique characteristics.
Absolutely. And you sit much tighter. You can hug the tank.
At around 5,500 RPM, the bike wakes up like a proper roadster. Yeah. You hunch a little bit more maybe and grip the tank a little bit tighter, and you know that you can rev her harder.
She wants to be revved harder.
When you like relaxing on it, sometimes you just feel she's eager. Yeah. Like, give her the throttle twist and there is a smile.
I've ridden all iterations of the 650 engine in various Royal Enfield. I can say that this has been the smoothest 650 that I've ridden, although the bike is super hefty and you feel the weight immediately. At low speeds, you definitely feel that weight. But the engine, super smooth, and I really like that.
Vibrations? No vibrations?
No vibrations.
It almost felt non-Royal Enfield-ish.
Absolutely.
We recently rode the Bear 650 as well, and I almost forgot that I was riding the same platform. The RE has been able to retain the pure classic feel. The mid-range torque feels juicy, although she doesn't necessarily want you to ride hard. I mean, it's relaxed. She's well poised and translates the same feeling to the rider as well. Almost immediately, the BSA feels much more lighter. It's nimbler for sure, streamlined. It's a thin bike, it sits thin on between your legs also. Whereas the Classic felt really laid out. Like so much space and everything. It feels like a big bike.
In any production bike, I've never seen such a huge rear brake disc.
I think it's a 300 mm or something. It's this big.
It's huge, it's massive. But I might be just picking on small things here, but the ABS is very, very intrusive. Like not even 20-30% on the rear brake and you feel it immediately. That's not very confidence inspiring, but at the same time, it is because you actually have brakes in the Classic 650 as compared to, let's say, the BSA Gold Star 650?
I have a point of view on this one. I mean, if you remember the old classics, riders would depend more on the rear brakes.
Yep.
Because of the weight and everything. And earlier we had drum brakes, then one disc, one drum. So the rear brake was used differently.
Correct.
Now, if you want to really create a product to attract that audience, I think that rear brake bite with that big rotor kind of makes sense.
Bang on.
The Classic 650 demands attention, unlike the Gold Star. The Gold Star is much more subtle, nothing extra, but very aesthetic. Classic in its purest form. There's something beautiful at every point on the Gold Star that you can appreciate.
It speaks to the pure retro enthusiasts. When you look at it, it has all the right proportions. Just the way a classic bike should look like, and definitely you feel that difference when you put a Classic 650 next to it, the Royal Enfield next to it. You see the differences, right? You can actually see the subtle nuances in which BSA designed this to be a pure retro classic.
An homage.
An homage to, the World War II times.
The BSA is definitely less bling than the Classic 650, but it really comes alive around 5,500 RPM. You roll it, the exhaust note changes.
Yep.
There's a different beat of the bike and it wants to go harder.
Yeah.
You rev it, you feel the bike come alive.
Yeah.
There is very little lethargy about the 650 BSA. Although we felt the rear brake lacking, the bite was missing, at least the bike that we rode. I do feel the rear suspension can be tuned better. We are not going into the sport comp tire conversation because you can always change and figure out which works better. The guys who are riding this bike internationally, they already have figured out alternatives for the rear suspension or the brakes. So it can become much better, and maybe in the latter iterations, BSA actually makes it what it needs to be. I still say it's a work in progress.
The Classic felt plush, wide-chested and proud. I think both these welcome a community that likes to take it easy, pure, uncomplicated.
The beauty of it is they deliver the joys in very different languages.
Yeah.
Both the languages are very easy to understand. Both romanticizing the yesteryears, both giving you power that you need. These bikes are quintessentially the antithesis to the current crop, where technology and the package that it comes with becomes such a big conversation. I mean, the whole world is talking about traction control and ride mode, etc. I like the disruption. It kind of calms things down and you start enjoying motorcycling in a whole different way.
Like a throwback.
It takes you back. It transfers you or transports you to a different zone.
Yeah.
And that's such a beautiful thing. It's like a teleporting machine.
Back to the 80s.
Back to the 80s.